Hello everyone, this is PK Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and this will be a review of the series finale of The Walking Dead, which was titled Rest in Peace. Now there'll likely be spoilers throughout for the episode, so just beware when going into this overall video. Now going into this final episode, we had been following the season arc of the Commonwealth, which saw the main heroes come across a large prosperous community which initially offered hope of a peaceful existence away from the walkers. But over the course of the season, an undercurrent of corruption and cruel imprisonment has been discovered. We saw this at first with Eugene being abducted, and then later on with the rest of the group coming into conflict with Pamela, the leader of the Commonwealth. Now the previous episode left off with everybody fending for their lives as the Commonwealth began to get overrun with walkers, and we also saw Judith being shot by Pamela in a crossfire. Now in terms of this episode, I think overall it was a very satisfactory finale. Things started off very intense as we had early deaths against the struggle against the walkers. It certainly was an episode that was full of action and spectacle and tension, especially in its first half. As we saw everybody battling for their lives, we had many near misses and last gasp saves. One in particular when we saw Eugene, Gabriel and Rosita trying to climb up the walls into the window, and we had that very tense moment where we saw Rosita falling down amongst the walkers with her baby, and I thought she initially was going to die, but she manages to break free and later on rejoin the others. Now of course the finale itself was burdened by the fact that despite the series ending, we have planned multiple spin-off shows concentrating on the likes of Daryl, Rick and Michonne and Negan and Maggie, which I still think is a ridiculous setup. And even though we had a scene between Maggie and Negan where we saw Negan apologising again for murdering Glenn, it just doesn't bear any credibility despite all of the efforts that the show has made over the last couple of seasons. It just doesn't make any sense that Maggie would want to be anywhere near him despite the fact that he has indeed saved her son and also Judith in previous episodes. Now we did get a very sad moment when Rosita revealed that she had been bitten to Eugene during her efforts to rescue her child. And yes, it was very sad given that Rosita had the most awesome scenes throughout this episode in order to rescue her child. But this is how the show has always done it, where prior to a character dying, they would have some sort of awesome moment or standout scene, and then later on we would kill them off in order to really build up that sense of a tragic passing away. And without question, Rosita was the MVP throughout this entire episode. We also had to deal with the power struggle against Pamela and the Commonwealth, which kind of seemed redundant at this stage given that everybody was trying to fend off the oncoming onslaught of the walkers. It just didn't make any sense that we were having this ongoing dispute about controlling of the Commonwealth when the more logical step was for everybody to unite together and deal with the bigger threat. And to be fair, we did see this event play out where we saw them letting back the citizens into the blocked off area. And eventually everybody did team up and plan to draw the walkers into the buildings which had been loaded with explosives with rock music, and we had some very good visual shots of seeing the explosions and all of the walkers burning away in the fire. Very good spectacular shots on here and very good effects and CGI. So after all of the walkers had been destroyed and the conflict finally over, we then spent the rest of the episode tying up all of the loose ends. We see Pamela imprisoned for her crimes, and we get another scene between Maggie and Negan with her rightly stating that she can't ever forgive him for what he did to Glenn, and admittedly this was a very good scene that was very well acted by Lauren Cohen. It will at least be very interesting to see the setup that they present that will warrant both Maggie and Negan teaming up together in their own spin-off show. Now later on in the episode we see everybody coming together celebrating at dinner. We acknowledge Rosita's lasting moments as she shares it both with Gabriel. And then later on we had the very touching and moving scene where we see Rosita in her last moments lying in the bed alongside her baby, and admittedly it did achieve a certain poignancy and emotion. And I suppose going into this episode we all knew that we would at least see one established character die. Going in, I initially thought it was going to be either Erin or Eugene. I was expecting a sequence of events where either Eugene or Gabriel would give up their lives in order to let Rosita and her baby live. But having Rosita pass away, I think overall was very well handled. It wasn't over the top or forced, and overall was a very great performance from actress Christian Serratos. Now we did have some more nice scenes of people together celebrating, with Ezekiel announced as the new governor of the community and also Mercer as vice governor. And Ezekiel was another person that I thought might not make it all the way through, but I think overall it's good to have somebody who has very much had a positive outbeat ever since his introduction. make it amongst the struggle and become the overall leader of the new community. So I thought that was very fitting as well. Now, in terms of Daryl and Connie, we didn't get the romance that they were teasing for so long, for multiple seasons now. And in the end, I think that's very good because Daryl is very much of a lone wolf, as we saw towards the end of this episode with him riding away. And it's because of this that I don't think any potential relationship would have lasted long anyway. We did get some more good moments of Daryl and Carol in their final scenes together and also meeting up with Judith, who was somewhat of a bystanding character overall. After seeing her shot in the previous episode, I felt that they were going to make Judith far more of a pivotal character going forward for any potential future continuation, but that wasn't to be the case. And I think Judith has probably been an underutilised character ever since we got that time jump, I believe, in season 9, and we saw her growing up. They haven't really done a lot with her ever since. We eventually closed out the episode with a nice montage of clips from moments throughout the entire series, all handled very well, and then we kind of got, if not an end credit stinger, certainly a promise of things to come when we finally saw Rick appearing once again when he was walking amongst a swamp of walkers barefooted, and there was a helicopter that was chasing him and pursuing him. So what this means, I'm not so sure, but obviously we'll find out in the upcoming spin-off. We saw Michonne also writing messages, and for some reason she had this almost like samurai armor as we saw her riding away into the walkers, and I thought she looked very cool, but it did bring questions as to how exactly she found this armor. But I'm sure we will see much more in the spin-off together, Rick and Michonne uniting once more. And then we had some overplaying narration from all of the characters stating that we are the living, and that's when the show ended. So overall, it was satisfactory. They didn't go for pure shock value by killing everybody off, which is what I was initially worried with in terms of this episode. It was handled with a certain sincerity, a certain poise and heartfelt nature, and most important of all, hopefulness. And I think that's something that's been always a big criticism of the show, is that it's always been this kind of never-ending depressive state. We would always build up some semblance of hope and then have it completely destroyed. I suppose the biggest criticism really is that we are getting all of these spin-offs, and it just begs the question, why end the series if we're going to be continuing with the main characters? And whilst all actors have been very good in roles, I'm not sure these characters are strong enough to carry a series on their own. I'm sure these series will have limited episodes, and obviously they will not last as long as the original series has, but I just think, why not just continue with a 13th season? Or even better yet, why not have Rick and Michonne reunited with everybody and give the story a final and definitive conclusion? I think that would have been a stronger end to the overall episode. But despite all of that, I think overall as a finale, very fitting, very well handled, with some strong emotional moments, and overall a beautifully judged conclusion to the series itself. So there's my overall thoughts and feelings and review of The Walking Dead series finale. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I will shortly be providing an overall series review of the entire show, so look out for that on the channel in the next upcoming days. But let me know in the comments if you had a particular stand-up moment throughout this entire episode, or do you think it could have been handled better in any way, and then we can have further debate afterwards. And also, if you have any other television shows or series or movies that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary on that subject matter in the future. Please also hit and like those subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.